Thank you very much for being here. My name is Paul Mezier. I was supposed to present with Amaury Solignac, so first off, we apologize for Amaury not being here. He's the founder of the company, and we're moving offices at the moment in Paris. We're based in Paris, and we're very excited. We've just found this great workshop, which is the largest space that we're currently in. So business is growing, and we're quite busy back in Paris. So I'd like to start. So the talk is called the location-based entertainment experience, balancing story, tech, and budget to create valuable memories. So I'd like to start with a distinction. We are announced as Orbital Views, but actually we're part of a larger company which is called Iceberg, which is an immersive learning production studio. So Iceberg produces VR experiences, immersive experiences, either for training purposes, training and educative purposes. And Orbital Views is a brand. It's which is part of Iceberg, and it's space related. So I will present to you today all the products basically and our experience. Basically, we've been operating for roughly 3 years, space related immersive experiences, and this is a sort of a wrap, or I'll just hopefully share some insights into what we've learned in 3 years experiences, in 3 years operating those LBE experiences. So how did we start? Oh, I'm clicking. It's not clicking. Shall I click here? Oh, right. I have to point here. Okay. So the company started doing zero-G flights. So we do not operate the flights ourselves, but to our knowledge, so the companies. So to come back to the full story, we started by training astronauts. The founder of the company, Amaury Solignac, is a psychologist, and he's a psychologist with the European Space Agency. He was about 5 years ago, and he was he was on the board of to select the latest batch of European astronauts, and he wanted to use virtual reality to train astronauts. So there was a very cool video that I wanted to show you, but we can't. So I just have a screenshot here. This is Amaury right here, and we're in the plane at the moment. Unfortunately, I didn't have the chance to go, but we've done several flights in those planes, and we can simulate. So the plane itself can simulate several gravitational forces, and so we can simulate either Mars or the Moon or just floating in space in the ISS. And so the goal was to train astronauts using this system. To our knowledge, we are the only private company in the world who does this. The only other people that we know about are NASA. So if you know anyone, we're happy to get in touch. And so these are some of the people that we've had the privilege to work with over the years. I'll go into some detail into some of them. But basically, the challenge was, or the idea was, we started as an industry company to have very high-end training on an industrial side, and we wanted to use this knowledge to move into the consumer side, so to sort of branch out and use our knowledge. So we developed several products, which I will present to you. Right. One of our first products was Overview. It's called Overview, A Walk for the Universe. It won in 2018, so last year, the Viveport Developer Awards by HTC Vive, which were presented to us during the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco. And we're very happy about it. And so we're distributing online on all the usual stores, and also we have a location-based version, which is a very simple terminal. I don't know how to call it. It's a usual museum installation that you can find in several museums. But we've just added a VR headset onto it. It's very simple, and people can walk in and off and to use it. So Overview itself is a documentary. There's a narrative part and an interactive part, and it's a documentary. It's a simulation of the solar system and the universe. So we use public data from NASA and other space agencies to show the universe. It looks, so there was also a video, but I can't show it to you, so you'll just have to take my word for it. But it's very beautiful. The visuals are really stunning. It's a bit like astrophotography images that you can see animated. So I encourage you, you can, again, download it online. I can send you a key if you want. But you get to fly through most of the known universe. It's really quite an experience. And for if you have any interest in space whatsoever, I highly recommend it. Okay. Right. Next. So Virtual Moonwalk. This is a lunar gravity simulator. So this is a 4x4 truss structure with a precise compensation system that we have designed, so that takes 5/6 of your weight off you, so that you can jump as if you were on the moon. It takes some engineering to do it, and you get to be on the moon, so you have one person by one person that walks in. It lasts for about 4 minutes, the experience altogether, and you get to jump as if you were on the moon. This has been presented in the National Science Museum in Paris, in Belgium, in Switzerland, in other places. And we rent it or present it into science museums and other venues as an event, on an event basis. Right, I had another video for it. And this was my last video, I promise. But just to emphasize on one thing here, so you get to jump about 1.5 meters high, which is cool in itself. So there's sort of the wow factor, but also what we wanted to show very precisely is also the physical aspect of, when you slow down very, you fall down very slowly, which is very different from if I jump here. And when you get to be on the moon, it's quite a physical experience. So what we wanted to do is really mix the visual immersion and the physical sensation to provide visitors with a new experience. Right, that was the video. And then finally, the third project that I want to show you is called Apollo Moon Operations. This won the Grand Jury Prize at Laval Virtual. I don't know if you know about it. It's a festival that has been running for 20 or 25 years in France, and it's an asymmetric play for 2 to 4 users, and we have tangible interactive objects that we can use, and everything we do has historical veracity built in it, because our clients, we build products for education and science institutions and museums. So everything we do has to be education worthy. So in this case, here you go. That's a screenshot from inside the show. So you get to relive. The Apollo mission. So you have several objectives to achieve as a team. What we wanted to emphasize here was really the cooperative aspect of going to the moon. Because there's a lot of, as we know, there's a lot of location-based games or even experiences, VR experiences in general that are competitive. I think there is enough of that. I mean, that's great, but also if we can build some cooperative aspect into the experience, personally, that's what we like to emphasize. So that's one screenshot. So you start in the LEM, which is the Lunar Exploration Module. Everything is real, everything is accurate. It's the real model that we pulled off from various sources. So it's really as if you were in the vehicle, and you get to see firsthand that it's really small. You can literally touch the walls. And you had 2 astronauts, staying in there for 3.5 days, which is the length of the trip from Earth to the moon. So it's really, you get to see the dire conditions, that you get to, space is not funny most of the time. It's quite a difficult environment to be in, and this is without making any drama of it. But this is what we want to show as well. It's a sight, but it's special, right? Okay, I realize I'm just running through it, so tell me if you have any questions. But we'll get some more in the end, more time in the end. To summarize, this is this is the various spec sheets of our products. So Overview, which is the interactive solar system, Apollo, which is 2 to 4 users, and Moonwalk, which is the suspension structure. You can see some fees, some prices at the bottom. These are indicative, and these are on a rental basis. So don't make, this is I'm not committing to those prices, right? Because you have, of course, transportation, various fees to add on to those. But this gives you an idea of the range of experiences that we do. Right, so this is what we do. Now, what do we take away from this? Right. Before going into this, I'll just go one more here. And just to illustrate what we wanted to do was build several ways to interact with virtual reality and with the technology. So as you can see, every product has a different type of interaction built into it. Because all our clients in this case are venues with high public demand. There's a lot of foot traffic going through, and this is one of their main constraints that they have to think about. So Overview, for example, is very easy. You just walk in, pick up the headset, and you can watch either for 30 seconds or 30 minutes, depending on your interest and the queue behind you. So we have built it to be very easy to interact with. Apollo has 2 to 4 people, so you have more throughput. And Moonwalk has a sort of wow factor because it's a big structure, and people, we've had people queuing up to 2 hours to do Moonwalk at a venue where there wasn't a booking system, and we've had people literally waiting for 2.5 hours. And when you, even little kids, right, or teenagers, and they get very impatient in the end, but only 3 minutes of the experience, and they leave with the brightest smile you can imagine. So this is always very surprising and wonderful. But we wanted a diversity of interaction. That's what I wanted to say. Right, takeaways. After 3 years. After 3 years operating location-based experiences, it's very clear there is a demand. It's been growing steadily over the past 5 years. As I said, we are operating location-based for 3 years, but we've done things before. We are now beyond the wow factor. The audience has seen some VR experiences. They are interested now. They are starting to be picky about what they see. They start to notice what is good and what is not good. So that brings in some challenges because you have to build something that brings value to the audience. And in a diversity of industry, we are working in education, but of course in industry, I mean the whole is full of it. You have to pick your own niche, right? Your own market. But education, industry, entertainment, medical, the applications are virtually endless. Now, we need to face up with the challenges as well. As I said, our key insight is for museums. The 2 main constraints they have is ease of use and reliability. So when you have thousands of people walking into a museum every day, this is the main thing that we have learned. All the technology that we have, VR headsets, this is all very fiddly and very fragile, right? For a museum, this is just impossible to use. You have to be extremely careful about the technology you use and the way, the tools you use. So this is really what you have to keep in mind. When you have kids, 5 or 6 years old or 12 years old, they get excited, they move in ways that are unpredictable. If you have cables, it's very quickly becoming a nightmare. So that's really what you have to think in mind, to keep in mind. Also lower the cost of operation. We try to build all of our experiences with a low cost of operation, and it's mainly the operating staff. Museums and other venues, the first question they ask when you make them when you present them with a quote is, well, how much it's going to cost me to rent, but also to operate. If you show an experience for 2 months, if you add up the cost of having some staff, and if your museum is open for 12 hours, which some museums are, if you have a late night opening, for example, you need 2 shifts, 2 or 3 people shifting. So you suddenly over 2 months you need 6 people running the show, and it adds up enormously to the bill. So you really want to make it very easy to use and have some people that that can operate it, but that can do just the minimum, you know, just putting on the headsets and not operating anything else. And listen to your customers. It's basic business sense, but the venues know. They know their constraints. They know their public. They know how the public behaves. So talk to them, and you have to build the show. I mean, on every show we do, we iterate and we build. We try to improve on everything. So try as much as possible to be ahead of the curve with the venue, with the client, and sorry, and listen to them. Right. And finally, make it worthwhile. We have artists, engineers, scientists in the team. No one has a right answer. The artists think they want to make everything very beautiful, of course. The engineers want something else. But of course, you have to listen to everybody. No one has one good answer. It's a team effort. Deliver value to the audience, it's a generic term, but of course, when you have been waiting for 2 hours to queuing up for a show, you want to really get something out of it. So again, we try not only to do a wow factor, and I'm sure this is I mean, I know this is a problem or a question for museums, especially because we have two factors to weigh, right? There is the spectacular side to it, but there's also the educative side to it. You don't want to only wow people, you want to teach them something. Even if it's a very small detail, like the distance from Earth to the Moon is 3.5 days, roughly. That's the journey. So if you can just have, give them some tidbits like this, that's what parents care for, and that's personally what I care for when I go to a museum. Right, and in the end, find what makes you unique. It's a journey. We are far from over with it. As I said, we are always iterating. All our products are, improving, and we do training, we do education, and it's also there's a sort of always in between thing. So every product can be used for different applications, be it a commercial event or a really educative show. You have to tailor each version of the product for that use, right? So that's it. That's pretty much it for what I have to say. That's our contact details. I'll be on the show. If you want to talk, of course, I'll be around. And if you have any question, I'll be very happy to answer. Yeah. Oh, we can play the videos. Yes. Right. Not this one. Flights. Do you want to go to flights? Let's see a flight. I don't remember the video we have. I think there is one below. Yep. Below. Yes. Yeah. So that's the moon gravity. So that's 1/6 of your Earth weight. That's Mars. It's a bit lower. I have forgotten the number. So right now the plane is falling. And that's the best one, of course. So that's the in-headset. That's the images on the lower left. These are the same images that we've been using for Overview, which is our documentary. So if you get to watch Overview, it's a bit like you were an astronaut because we're using the same images to train them in space. Here you go, that's about it. That's what I have. Thank you for the video. Please, if you have any questions.